that one, Harrison. I think this map pool, even this first map of Chalet, is going to favor IF through and through. If we take a look at their performances yesterday, the closest result, the closest reference point we have for both of these teams, Nocturns, they could not pull out the win against Aerial Rise on this map, losing 7-4. But looking at IF, they won 7-4 over One Shot, a team that we, many people have favored to go all the way and remain in that winner's bracket final that we'll see tomorrow. So IF, I think they're situated perfectly here because Clubhouse even more so will favor them, given that Nocturnes couldn't get a single round on that map yesterday, and IF won that as well against Parabellum in overtime. So seeing this map pool, I am terrified for Nocturnes. I love this team. I love their support staff. All of these players, they have been putting in the work and they've been grinding to get to the top, but they are going to have to put on a remarkable show if they want to stave off defeat just yet. Heading into Chalet right now, they're going to have to come out and send a quick message. They are going to have to come out swinging, because if not, this will get troubling very, very quickly. There's no question about it.
Yeah, I do have to agree. While the stats might say that this map is an even win rate, I think the opponents that IF has taken down on said map a little bit more fearsome than maybe the ones Nocturnes had beat. So, into the map we go. And if we want to talk about the bands, they are stock standard. I mean, these are bands that you typically expect on this map. Maybe the one that's less familiar is Nomad. I know a lot recently, especially on Chalet, we see Lion bands as a counterband to specific teams. We'll see a Hard Breacher band like a Hibana. We even see Flores a lot because of how shield-centric the map is. But Nomad, still not a strange one at all. Flank Watch, also important on this map. Nomad definitely lends herself to that. And if you know that the other team tends to like the Nomad over the Zero and the Lion, she is perfectly reasonable. We also have a Wamai ban with Flores being left up, so that shield play in important positions, such as in piano, such as on top blue stairs, those could be much weaker now.
Yeah, going to be considerably more challenging to hold those power positions that have become incredibly common on a map like Chalet. Pretty much the staple of this map, I'd say, is the top blue stairs shield and all of the ADSs, and typically Wamai magnets to support that position. Now, we're not seeing that right now, of course, like you said, Harrison, without the Wamai. We're not going to have to deal with those pesky magnets, so it shouldn't be a problem for Nocturnes, or at least it shouldn't be as much of a problem. You're still going to see deployable shields and very important power positions. You're still going to see that shield on top blue, that shield by chimney, and likely shields elsewhere, especially when you head towards that bar and games site. Now, when it comes to this site right now, we're heading over to Master and Office, so those specific positions that I highlighted won't be seen, at least in round number 1. That's something that we're going to have to focus on, possibly in round number 2 or 3, as we get
about that, but we have all the players in the lobby, and hopefully the siege gods are forever in our favor and we will suffer no more lag. Of course, because the rehost was taken after the round had already started, the operators and the bomb site selection must remain the same. So we're going to see the same thing from IF. It's going to be in master bedroom and office, though that doesn't mean Nocturnes can't shake up their strategy, right? At first, we saw Nocturnes attempt to clear from the library side of things. Solar has become more popular in recent times, as, it's kind of like the least amount of control you need to take, but the most amount of control given to you. You open up a master wall, it's a pretty easy plant, but library still remains popular if you can get that bunker wall open.
Yeah, again, both approaches, very common for the attacking teams to undertake. Solar is very direct, and you can be on the site in almost an instant. But if you approach from library, there's a lot more utility to clear from, especially if you have to work your way up through piano, the position right now where we can see that Surya gate set up on that double door. We see a couple of ADSs placed down in there, and I suspect that Giddy is going to be rolling up in there in just a moment to place down that explosive Vulcan shield as well. So a lot of utility devoted that position that will force the attacking team to make one of the more classic decisions in this game. Do you want to go through the methodical, disciplined route and push through all of that utility? It may take a good bit more time, but it may set you up for more success. Your other option, of course, is avoiding that utility. Circumvent it entirely, maybe approach from the north, approach from Solarium, and go for that back-sided take. We won't know exactly the intent of this Nocturnes attack, at least for the time being, but we will get a clear idea of exactly which way they want to begin this roam clear. And it does look, with the fact that we can see some drones in library here, Lackey on that library balcony, that they do want to clear their way through this map. Arrow going to be their first defender to encounter.
And I like this from IF. So they're taking advantage of the rehost, and obviously, you know, they found out that Nocturnes wanted to clear the library side, and IF want to meet them there. You have Arrow positioned all the way on top of Chimney, the Vigil previously at the bottom of Blue Stairs, and they've rotated part of their defense to meet Nocturnes head on. And speaking of, you just saw on your screen earlier Marmalade, who I believe was on the big window rappel, not even big window rappel, she was on the balcony rappel. She'll get capped by Inrio for the first kill of the match.
Yeah, quickly getting taken care of, and your only hard breacher gone this early. That is going to severely limit the options that Nocturnes are going to have going forward. They can no longer get any sort of hard breach going and approach from multiple directions at a time and establish new angles on the bomb site. Nay, they have to just shove their way in, getting aggressive, and just taking gunfights, and that is not something that's going to be easy. We'll see exactly how they respond to this adversity here. Sykes will begin to work his way up towards library, trying to maybe take a gunfight with Arrow, but with all of that utility, like I've mentioned, and that deployable shield, taking this gunfight with the Jaeger is going to be, well, not easy to get done. Now, hoping that maybe joining with a couple of other teammates can assist in that, but it seems that no. Jumping through the window, that's Exod, but Arrow, with that angle from the piano window to that other window, is going to take care of that player very, very quickly. And that's already 2 players cut down, and a 5 versus 3 favoring the defense with only about 45 seconds to play.
Yeah, Nocturnes not starting off too hot. They need to get warmed up a little bit. Nades continuing to burn Aruni gates, and they really want to deal with the shield on piano. They're burning away all the ADSs. The nade comes over to actually shove the Jaeger off the shield rather than clear the shield itself. That'll allow Sykes the kill. So finally, 1 kill goes the way of the attackers. Sykes is pushed up pretty far. In fact, he's now in office. Nocturnes have office control. Next up is FICO. He'll move in and start getting this plant down, and I'm not sure if there's really anything that the defense has to counter this. Lackey gets a Claymore kill on Giddy, I assume running out Trench to get the big window repel, and the plant will be completed, but there's Inro on the cutoff. Sykes attempting to retreat and back out of the site will get caught, but Subarctic stays outside for far too long. It's now Vivid and Inrio. The 2 versus 2, they have to find these next 2 kills in the next 23 seconds and get on the defuse, but FICO lights up Inrio. He'll get traded out by Vivid, and now it's just Lackey, but he has the repel. He can't see behind the bomb chassis, though. He's gonna have to swing in. He downs Inrio, but he can't get the second. The attempt from Lackey nearly finding its mark, but the plant was not in his favor, and IF will take the first round.
Yeah, Lackey found themselves in a very tough situation. Yes, you could kinda sorta see the shoulder of the person on that diffuser, but Lackey couldn't be quite certain of that, nor could he be certain of the fact that he ended up actually downing the Aruni successfully. Had he known that, he likely would have stayed on the window rappel. The smoke would have been forced to take that gunfight or try to find an angle that Lackey couldn't see, but as we already saw, that is very challenging to do. So that could have easily gone the way of Nocturnes, almost clawing that one back and snatching an IF round right out of their fingertips, but in the end, it was IF who completed a messy retake, but they got the job done, and they secured the opening round of this match. So a great start for this defense, and every single defensive round here, I think we're going to highlight a good bit. This is generally considered an attacker-sided map, so every defensive round you can secure, you are putting yourself in a better and better position going into that next half of play, and that's exactly what IF are attempting to do here, just trying to get their feet under them, start off strong, and at least in round number 1, they've done that pretty well.
Yeah, but it was really close. Nocturnes started off the round pretty terribly. It was not great. They gave up some very early picks, albeit, you know, Marmalade just kind of got ran out on, and Exod was the victim of, I guess, unlucky timing. But the recovery from Sykes, Lackey, and FICO was brilliant. Sykes pushing his way all the way into piano. IF were... Surprisingly, I didn't expect IF to play that far back, but maybe the retake is what they had in mind to begin with. But I think it goes to show that despite Nocturnes not having the best start, which I think is just signs of them needing to warm up, they can still put up a fight. You cannot count them out even in those 3v5 situations like that. So next we'll go on to Dining. Very similar setup up on Master. Bunker walls reinforced, shields and piano, because you have to hold the top floor. The longer you hold the top floor as the defense, the better your site play is going to be, because if you get that for free, people like, well, actually, I was going to say, people like Lackey can do some vert play, because they don't have a sledge. It would be Lackey with the breaching charges, but he actually has a claymore. So the upstairs control for the attack might not matter nearly as much as it normally would.
They're still looking to secure it, at least for now, right? They haven't made some sort of dramatic pivot just yet. I do believe Lackey's going to hop out that window and go, towards that master window rappel to provide another cutoff, just like we saw him do in the previous round. And the rest of this team is still going to be focused on the vertical play. But yes, the basement play here, that is, was that the biggest brain impact trick we've ever seen? I think that may have just occurred there. So Marmalade just trying to be careful, making sure Arrow's not lurking behind with any more impacts, but he has retreated back to the site and will no longer be a nuisance. That does mean that Marmalade can now use those X-Kairos pellets to open up that wall towards Square and secure that long angle in office, and potentially locking down any more defensive pressure being applied on that top floor.
Yeah, that impact trick was figured out pretty quickly. We see it in ranked. I think Foxay tried it in the NAL, though it was unsuccessful. But when you can catch a Hibana like that, it does in fact work. Now that they have the wall open, and I guess because they don't really have any dedicated soft breach, they're going to figure, hey, all we need to do is hold the wall and ensure that the defenders cannot take any vert control in office. We just need to hold them back. In the meantime, they're going to go ahead and open the main site wall, and Marmalade's going to try and work a push while Sykes pushes in upstairs. Both the Goyo Shields and Piano now pop, but he's going to fall to the angle by the closet, being dealt some damage as Marm finds the opening pick down on the site. Down goes Vivid. That's your site player. That's a C4 dead. Luckily enough, Arrow might still have some of those Yokai drones, but Subarctic answers with a C4 onto Sykes. Now no more Finka. Not sure if he had any more boosts, but he'll die with him. Marmalade gets a second, though, and now both your site players are dead. These guys upstairs need to start retaking down. Sub will get one kill before he starts moving, but he is lit up, and Marmalade's likely going to be going for this plant soon. She has the opportunity. She needs to do it before these defenders have time to rotate back. She's worried about the bulletproof cam, and she'll take it out. Here's the plant in default behind the bomb chassis. Lackey has the cutoff from West Main, with FICO actually watching up above, and Lackey will find the kill, but Inrio upstairs using the vert. You need those upstairs players not to die. FICO's going to try and continue the plant. Do the defense have intel? Subarctic's going to move in, and there it is from Inrio up above. They don't even need the Goyo, and that is why if you push far up in the piano and die, it's going to come back and haunt you. You do not need to clear. All you need to do is hold office.
A perfect example of why you need to take vertical control and why you need to hold and maintain that vertical control. Kitchen and Dining here on Chalet, almost a mirror image, at least in terms of the vertical play, to a site like Meeting Room and Kitchen on Oregon. Right? If you think about that site, you think about how important Attic is to having some sort of offensive pressure in that area, right? You don't need to actively have somebody in that room controlling it and taking gunfights. All you need is somebody to be watching the long angle so that when you do go for the plant, no defender can come in on a retake, establish new vertical angles that weren't there before, and take you out as a result. That is exactly what IF did so perfectly, because Nocturns left that option available to them. They decided, like you said, Harrison, to push up into Piano and take active and aggressive gunfights. And while seeking that control can result in, well, dividends at the end of the day, it's a high-risk play. And with a high-risk play like that comes a lot of danger if you do not pull it off, and that's exactly what we saw. IF winning in most of those gunfights on that top floor, even though they lost players downstairs. Even though everyone from Nocturns at that point was downstairs and contesting the on-site players or lack thereof, because the vertical control had not been maintained by the attack, IF could retake office, use vertical play, and deny the plant, and at the end of the day, that is exactly how they were able to win that round. Nocturns unable to secure an attack now 2 rounds in a row.
It's also really funny because a common theme between not only you and I, but Carter and Benny yesterday with these losing teams who lose these attacks like that is that we've been very critical of teams like Parabellum, Aerial Rise, etc. for trying minimal takes and not having enough control to go for what they want to go for. But in that round, Nocturnes did the exact opposite. They could have done the minimal take and it would have worked out better. They tried to take too much control.
Yeah.
Too much of a good thing is bad. And hopefully Nocturnes learned their lesson the hard way. We're going to go on to Bar now, the third site for IF. Nocturnes, of course, starting with a solar clear as is standard. No one's going to be in library to clear out that player, so hopefully they're not going to become victim to any long angle being held. Focus right now is going to be on this chimney player and the top blue, making sure these shields are cleared and those players are forced back.
Sykes and Exot as well, now joining forces to begin the massive utility burn necessary over on this blue shield. A nade from Sykes, though, will clip the window and actually go well off the mark, so the second one is now going to have to be wasted. I only hope that the second one was able to land true, and it seems like it was. The fire and the flames of those Vulcan shields is a good indicator that that position has now been secured by the attack. Arrow, though, still hasn't given it up easily. With a Vector in hand, still confident to take a couple of these gunfights, not eager to allow anyone from Nocturnes to push up and take additional control. The reason is, you still have Inrio playing upstairs here in Chimney, very ready to contest anyone holding this crossfire with his teammate on that long angle. Now, again, another nade having to be utilized for this position will eventually result in the taking care of that Vulcan shield in the chimney area, but there's still a lot of utility, mostly players, to clear out at this point. And with 40 seconds to go, Nocturnes find themselves again in a bit of a pickle. Losing a player now on the top floor, Marmalade no less. They're going to have to answer back, and they're going to have to do it quickly. Exod will start things off, a good kill onto Subarctic. The question is, do they know Inrio is lying prone?
I'm not quite sure they do. Look at the way they're moving him around the map. They've got no idea, but no, Inrio misses the shot, and Lackey collapses on him. Sykes another giddy trades back, but Lackey finds his second, leaving it to Vivid. In a 1 versus 3, he's got pings on 1 in lobby. He'll find Sykes, be able to find the kill, but Lackey from the top rope jumps down for his third, and Nocturnes take their first point.
Yeah, finally we're seeing Nocturnes remedy some of their issues, but I'm gotta say, Harrison, they didn't remedy them completely. They just decided to get frag heavy, and it worked, right? They still struggled with some timing, struggled with the top floor clear, but they got a little bit lucky in that IF, rather than backing off that top floor, eventually they decided to really commit fully to the library presence, something that we've criticized teams for doing in the last couple of days as well. By putting 2 players essentially to die in library, their job just to take gunfights and hope nobody finds them out, that is, again, one of these Hail Mary, high-risk, high-reward type plays, and it was actually Nocturnes who took that very reward because they won those gunfights in library. Yes, it took them a good bit of time, and they also lost some manpower along the way, but when it came down to it, with so many players upstairs, once Nocturnes had won those gunfights, there were very few players on the site to actually defend an aggressive site push, so when Nocturnes eventually made that one happen, they didn't have much trouble in doing so.
Now IF go down to the basement, Jonah. 4 rounds, 4 sites. I think IF did this. Was it IF that did this yesterday on No, maybe it was Wichita Wolves. Yeah, Wichita Wolves defended Bar on Club. That's who it was. Never mind. IF it's their turn to show us all 4 sites on a map. And basement is one of the least played. A lot of people agree that this site, not great. It requires you to roam very heavily. And IF are going to do just that, because if you do not contest the attackers on the top floor, the attackers get a lot of control for free. They're also not going to have a smoke, instead subbing in the Chonka for that delay power. He's still got a shield. He's got plenty of those banking incendiary rounds. Not quite sure where he's going to be focused. I guess it depends on where the push is going. There are a lot of bottlenecks on the basement, though. For example, Blue, the Wine Door, the Wine Breach, Snowmobile Breach, whatever. So wherever Vivid's fires go, it'll be sure to halt the attackers, at least for some time.
Right now, it seems that Nocturnes are gearing up for something of a wine cellar push, indicated by the fact that both Fico, Sykes, and Exot Combine two names there, are pushing their way through the big garage and working their way down the basement hallway over towards Trench and West Main. Now, taking this control, they should probably realize there's very little defensive presence on this side of the map, and very little the roamers can do to contest this vertically. After all, there is no real available flank from this position other than those West Main stairs, and as long as Nocturnes cover that and have somebody watching that position at all times, they should be just fine. It looks like that player may be Lackey. He is the only one eager to take this top floor control and is stuck in this standoff with that player on the top floor. But here comes Subarctic. He finally rounds the corner, just using his partner as a distraction and perfectly timing a nice little run out, or at least aggressive peek on the window, and it will get the job done. Thankfully for Nocturnes, though, you've still got FICO in play, and he will find a good trade. This one onto Inrio, shutting down the Vigil and removing another one of these very powerful roaming threats. But several threats remain on this top floor, and threats that Nocturnes are at the moment struggling to find and struggling to deal with.
Yeah, while that was a good trade and a good equalizer for FICO, they still have yet to pressure the site all that much. You saw earlier Marmalade was taking a lot of damage thanks to the Chonka fire. It was positioned over towards the trench doorway, which again is one of those famous bottlenecks on Chalet. Now all the walls are open. Now the issue for Nocturnes is actually getting through them. But there's Sykes, another roamer down in Giddy, but he'll be traded back. It's a good angle from Marmalade, dealing damage to Arrow, but no kill, as all three of them shove themselves through the doorway, looking for the triple take into sight. They'll find the Chonka. It's just Arrow and Sub, and now just Sub as the Jaeger hits the floor. Inside of Blue, he's got a battle against Exxon, and he will not win his fight. Nocturnes take round number 4 and tie the score 2-2.
Yeah, keeping things close here and tidying up some mistakes. It's really nice to see that from Nocturnes, kind of learning from some of those issues they had in the previous round and really making a difference here. This time, just overwhelming the on-site pressure, decided that, you know what, it's time to execute. We don't have to worry about wrapping around or taking vertical control on the other side. They focused on Wine Cellar, and we saw the perfect triple push in, and they won those engagements because they outclassed and outgunned and overwhelmed those remaining IF defenders. Those defenders were playing relatively close to one another, right, Harrison? But they weren't quite playing close enough maybe to find the trades or overpower a three-man push all at the same time. And Nocturnes making sure that in every gunfight, they had two guns, or they had 3 guns trained towards the same position, covering all of their bases, and just making sure that even if they lost a couple of bodies, they would have somebody right behind to find the trade, and that they did, winning out in those engagements and eventually taking a well-executed round. Tying us up at 2, moving into round number 5, we are in a dead heat. Neither one of these teams has yet broken out and really stretched ahead. IF will, of course, be looking to do that as they head back to a more common site of Kitchen and Dining, one that they were able to successfully defend last time they were here.
Something that I really like about Nocturne's attacks, I just want to discuss how cool this is, right? First 2 rounds against IF. Nocturnes clear, didn't start the best way, and even when it did, they were still very slow getting onto the site, right? The past 2 rounds, even Bar took a really long time, and they had to rely purely on the fragging ability. That last round on Garage, they did something really cool. They split the team, 3 and 2. 2 focusing on the site push, opening the walls early, establishing lines of sight into the objective, and so on, while the other 3 cleared the roam. That ensures that, while yes, your manpower is a little bit spread, it saves you so much time. Instead of having to do one after the other, you do them both at the same time. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And I think that was a big part of Nocturne's success. While they had people not even really on a roam clear, just kind of holding down West Main to ensure their players can't get flanked, and IF were pushing right into them. The rest of Nocturnes opening those lines of sight, getting rid of the site push, burning utility, destroying it. At the end, you saw eventually, the IF was pushed back so far. They were able to do that triple take through the doorway. So wonderful adaptation for Nocturnes, at least in that round. Now they got to go into Dining once again. I hope they've learned their lesson. All you need to do is open that office wall. When IF are holding upstairs as fervently as they are, you do not want to push up too far. Don't bite off more than you can chew.
I'm worried about Sykes here because last time we saw him just, think a boost himself and just get into the mix. And I would really just like to see him back off, stay a little bit more passive, and just play for that eventual push. You do not have to get over aggressive. And right now, at least they'll be listening and learning from those previous round issues. The focus will now shift from that top floor to the bottom floor here. This dining wall, now the next target for Marmalade and her ex-Kairos pellets. And that's exactly what she will do now, opening up that wall, establishing these new lines of sight onto the objective, and opening up further possibilities for Nocturnes to make this push. Theoretically, they could get going at any moment right now. They just want to figure out exactly how many players they're dealing with on the site. And to answer, there's only two. It's just Vivid and Sub right now because Arrow is actually down below on the west main stairs, and two players still remain upstairs. Inrio is one of them, currently taking a gunfight pretty aggressively here in office. Giddy as well, trying to provide support from Piano, maintaining this crossfire. But this time, Nocturnes, they're not pushing up, and they're just holding the angles that they need to. They're just biding time for this execute.
And here we go. Lackey will start things off holding on the double window. Down goes Giddy, but Inrio finds the trade onto Exod, now turning his sights towards the double window. But here's the swing from the Finka again, pushing up too far. Sykes goes down, and here's the sight push not going well either. FICO taken off the board by the C4. Marmalade gets one back, but everything falls apart. Inrio with the last one onto Lackey. And IF hold on as Nocturnes get a little bit too greedy. They see Inrio in office. They figure he's an easy frag, but the Aruni bites back.
Admittedly, I am a little bit surprised they made that decision because initially it looked like they were going to be fine and they were going to make the proper, more disciplined choice. And at some point, they probably realized things were slipping away and they had to pull out something pretty crazy in order to bring the round back. But I don't know how I feel about Sykes pushing up into Piano yet again. Piano is a very hard place to push as an individual, as a solo player, because there are three angles you have to worry about. You have to worry about the swing from Bathroom, the swing from Master, and the player sitting in office, which in this case was Inrio. And Sykes, just like you said, Harrison, bit off a little bit more than he could chew. Nocturnes as a whole maybe got a little bit overextended. Instead of, committing a couple of maybe 2 points of really strong utility and strong manpower, they maybe were a little bit spread out and allowed themselves to be cut down in individual gunfights, something that we were just criticizing IF for in the last few defensive rounds. But IF, they've stopped the bleeding. They've taken their third round now, breaking Nocturne's 2-round streak, and they'll be looking to end out their defensive half with a strong one here in round number 6.
Of course, if Nocturnes take this next round and end us up at an even half, it's still not ideal. You really expect to have that 4-2 on your attack on Chalet, but at least 3-3 means you're still in it. You're still in the game, swapping out your defense. They're gonna have to take bar. Now, again, we mentioned it. Our biggest issue with the Nocturnes bar take is that they took way too long attempting to clear library, and thus were really forced to push themselves down, force themselves into the site, and rely on that fragging power. But what are Sykes and Lackey up to? They're taking into Garage fast with the Finka and the Ash, pushing up main stairs. Are they looking to take Chimney from below?
They may still be trying to figure out exactly what they're dealing with, but yeah, it does look like they may be approaching this one a little bit more. You could call it unorthodox, but you can call it successful as well. Arrow is already going to fall. I think he was playing all the way downstairs on that roam, and Lackey just hunts him down and takes him out rather quickly. Inrio, though, now that he lost his teammate, he is going to be very aware of some shenanigans happening on that first floor. And he's going to keep an eye on those stairs, making sure nobody is going to come up that staircase and surprise him at the last second. That looks like what Sykes is planning on doing, but we're going to have to wait exactly for that to occur. Right now, Lackey's still trying to figure out what they're dealing with on the blue stairs here, because another sneaky play could be creeping up these blue stairs from the basement. That can catch your top blue player off guard and allow you to get a nice early pick. And if you're Nocturnes here, another kill would really be fantastic. It would open this site up even further, and it would isolate Inrio, making his position even less powerful on the top floor. That is exactly what Nocturns will do. Marmalade, a great kill onto Subarctic. Sykes will follow suit with a fantastic kill onto Inrio, leaving Giddy and Vivid the responsibility to hold this site down against 5 attackers. Exod not allowing that to happen the first time, shutting down Giddy, and Sykes right behind with a nice kill onto Vivid means Nocturns deliver us a flawless round to close out the half.
Beautiful. From the attack, I love the way they completely avoided all the utility IF had set up, right? They had Chimney, they had a shield, ADSs, they had top blue, yada, yada, yada. So what do Nocturns do? They, instead of taking top down, start with bottom up, not only the opening frag onto Arrow, but once they get that, Lackey positions himself bottom blue, breaks the barbed wire as Marm goes in coat check. They have a duo push. Marm gets a frag. Sykes goes up main stairs, finds the top floor player, and they just all collapse onto the site. Beautiful stuff from Nocturns. Again, the highlight on not their first garage attack and their second bar take, really good adaptations from them. And we're in a 3-3 half, so both IF and Nocturns, they're still in this map, though we could say, of course, we'll have to see how this half turns out, but we could still say, though, that IF have the advantage just because they are on the attacking side, and if they take the standard 4-2 half, it'll be a match win instead of overtime.
I'll throw you a little curveball here, Harrison, and while for the most part, I fully agree with you on the half selection here, what's interesting is I just double-checked, who picked what side and who really wanted to be on attack versus defense here, and it turns out that both of these teams seem to have some sort of understanding that defense is the preferred side on Chalet this afternoon. I'm not sure why, but Nocturns having picked this map, that means IF chose what side they start on. They chose defense.
That's true.
Looking to overtime, Nocturns are the ones who make that selection, and guess what? They chose defense as well. So maybe it's the games we saw yesterday, maybe it's just the vibe of these players right now, but maybe they don't, maybe they know something that we simply do not, that this is going to be more of a defensive-sided, or at the very least, a 50-50 Chalet, because that's exactly what we have right now. We'll have to see exactly what Nocturns have cooked up on their defense, because by selecting defense and OT, it would suggest they've got a pretty cohesive plan and a good understanding of what they've got to get done on this map. But again, I suppose only time will tell, because now as we enter round number 7, it is IF who have the responsibility on this attack to get something going and to clear out any pesky defenders who are positioned off this site. We are, in fact, over in kitchen and dining, so top floor control, as we've emphasized so far throughout this afternoon, is very important for IF to secure, and it seems for now, despite being 60 seconds into this round, they're still taking their time and maybe a bit nervous about pushing into this map.
Yeah, John, I think the side selection point you made was a very good one, and it could also be that if we look at both these teams' history, attacking is just not a great side for either of them, or particularly IF. We've criticized their attacks a lot. Nocturns have just never really been that good of an attacking team. And on the defense, what we saw yesterday against Aerial Arise, the defense of Coastline is where Marmalade was really heating up. In a similarly conventionally attacker-sided map of Chalet, Marmalade is looking to start off hot here too. She'll get the opener onto Arrow, who has not been doing so well. 1 and 6 on the Lion. And the Lion, of course, we know how important he can be. Not a single EE1D was ripped, and they will all die with him.
And not exactly the start that IF were looking for into this round. And I say start because only now that we've passed this 60-second mark, are they beginning this vertical control and this vertical destruction. Of course, Giddy on the sledge, that being his primary job. Good kill there from Inrio to work this way back a little bit, taking down Sykes and actually forcing that final roamer to retreat and head down the blue staircase. So with that kill, opening up control of this map a little bit more for IF. That's certainly something, but now they've got 30 seconds, and now they need to get going, and Giddy is going to get a very impressive shot onto Marmalade. Lackey nearly losing out in that gunfight, but ending up winning against Subarctic, and now inspiring both him and his teammate to go for a top floor retake. Here comes FICO, rolling into Piano. IF have no idea, but they're just going to barrel their way down to the site instead. Actually, Inrio is perfectly aware of this. He'll swing out, shut down FICO. Exod is ripped apart, and Lackey is torn down as well. A fantastic triple kill sequence for this attacking team. They come out of nowhere and they decimate a top floor retake attempt that Nocturns, well, I suppose you could say, was ill-advised.
Yeah, and I guess that's down to the flank watch and the drone setup from IF. I would assume that's what it has to be because Inrio was extremely, overwhelmingly aware of that flank, not only the position of the first, but the second as well. I don't know if that's just game sense or if they had info, but either way, well done to investigation file. Plus, despite it being late, the vertical control came into play. Giddy got the pick onto Marmalade, and with the two flankers, that leaves sight weak. You saw as soon as IF, and I'm thinking that's probably why IF had info, or how we can tell IF had info. When those two roamers came up for the flank, IF immediately transitioned. They sent two people down the trophy stairs to pinch that man in sight, got the kill, and then Enrio just happened to win both of his, again, aided by that info. So the timing and the info from IF, though it was late in the round, was still nearly perfect. That'll give them that 4-3 lead as Nocturne swapped to a bar defense.
Yeah, Nocturne's hoping to remedy that and switch things up to maybe one of their more preferred sites, or maybe just something different at this point, given that Kitchen and Dining did not go their way. They'll be bringing out the Mira. That's going to be Exod's role here, and paying attention to exactly where these Mira windows go is always something we like to focus on here on Chalet, because there are a good few variants of this, general black mirror placements that you can bring out, and they have a variety of different effects on the round. But I don't think they're going to get too crazy with this one. Of course, you've got one crouch height Mira over here in Library, and the other one down in the stock room of that bar and games area, connecting those two rooms. Pretty standard Mira positions, and, well, they do pretty standard things as well. The top floor Mira designed to waste time, allow that chimney player to have better clarity about exactly what's happening in Library, where Inrio appears to be making his initial entry. And the one downstairs, it adds even more power to that supply room and stock position. It really prevents anyone from running into games, really, at least when the defense is unaware of that.
IF now spotting out the setup in its totality. Luckily enough for them, I don't believe there's actually anyone in Library proper. Just outside, over towards Chimney, holding that mirror window. So, of course, the first task is going to be to deal with that Mira player, because as long as he persists, IF is not safe to move into Library, where their clear is starting to initiate. We've also got Arrow watching drones, ensuring that there's nobody downstairs, and luckily enough for IF, they don't have to directly deal with the mirror window. They have the luxury of a Hibana. So if those X-Kairos went off successfully, which there's the blast, they did, goodbye Mira. Sykes can no longer play there. He'll have to back off and allow IF control of Library.
Well, I'm thinking back to what you mentioned before we even got to this map, Harrison, that checklist that IF want to work their way through, and they do it, so methodically, and right now it's working for them. Yes, they've got a minute 15 to work with, but they've now taken pretty firm control of this top floor, forced any of these top floor players back, but they've got one more to worry about. That is going to be Sykes sitting close around the corner, but somehow winning out in that engagement. Now looking for a second, the player on the piano window can't quite get the cutoff, and that could be potential disaster for IF. A free kill escaping them. Control of this top floor also still escaping them. It looked like it was going so well, but just one kill from Sykes. One momentary gunfight that went the way of the defense has completely turned the tide of this round. Lackey more comfortable now to move around downstairs. Inrio's going to have to find a way to pull something out up here, but everyone else from Nocturnes, looking at the time, they're saying, you know what? Let's go back to this site. Let's lock it down, because IF only have 25 seconds to make this push happen.
Yeah, all 5 defenders still remaining, even though Sykes is low. Look at the utility smoke. Actually, no utility from the defense. No C4, no smokes. All they have is manpower, but that manpower is going to dwindle for the attack as Vivid gets taken out, as does Arrow by FICO. It's Sub and Inrio, and look at how far away from the site Sub is. There is no chance in hell he's going to be able to support his teammate, and he'll die to the bailiff of Sykes. A flawless round by Nocturnes. Wonderfully executed defense, knowing about the checklist. IF were able to take one part out, the mirror window and the library control, but like we had mentioned, Jonah, what do Nocturnes do? They don't fall back. They persist. They peek over and over, make IF uncomfortable, and you could tell by the way IF were playing, there was no point in that round where they had a comfortable foothold.
Maybe, it started out fine for them, that first minute when they were just mapping out library and figuring out the best way to approach it. But the moment that Sykes won a very unfavorable gunfight, I might add, over with that player swinging towards that piano double door from Chimney, that really completely shook up the round. And like you said, Harrison, everyone from IF at that point, it was a mad scramble, a mad dash to just recover some of that control, that momentum, and well, what they had until that moment, that comfort that they really, really like to have on their attacking side. Nocturns not having it tonight. They are going to shut down that comfort. They are going to take down those players one at a time. And yes, that was a very well put together defense. Like you said, persisting on that top floor, not allowing IF to ever get a comfortable foothold on the map to work with. And with that Baron Games defensive victory, they'll now move on to their third site of their defensive side. We're going to see Master and Office from them next.
Yeah, and I really gotta say with Nocturns, and I wonder if that's another adaptation that we're gonna see further in the defense. Because right, what we just saw from Bar is the exact opposite of what they did on Dining. Where on Dining, it was very site heavy, it was very late flank oriented. But by the time they went for that late flank, they had pretty much gifted IF control of that top floor. They allowed IF to get comfortable before they went for that flank, and that's why they were countered so easily. And Nocturns, they made the swap pretty much immediately on to the next round. So here's hoping that we see more of that forward gameplay, merely just because it's a little bit more entertaining. Now IF, they've got to clear into Master, and they'll actually kind of split the team apart. One or two over towards Library, Arrow, I think, on the balcony, Giddy below, and Sub working his way over towards Solar. So this attack, I mean, while you have a lot of angles you can work with, spread a little bit thin.
Right, is this the right counter for an aggressive defense? Is this the right protocol now that you know Nocturnes are going to be swinging you and taking more aggressive fights? I'm not too sure about that, because now maybe you'll give yourself even more of a disadvantage in those engagements than you had previously. Again, that's something we're just going to have to figure out if IF can remedy, and maybe this is exactly the situation for IF to feel more comfortable and to allow their gunners to shine and just win more gunfights one by one. But at the very least, it does seem that they will start to group up now that they have established some sort of a web of control, you could say, around the bomb site. A nade coming in from Giddy, hoping to open things up, targeting Sykes here, but Sykes avoids that one, and actually, with that nade kill forcing the castle back, that's actually going to allow IF to continue the usage of this utility. We saw the Rotero drones from Subarctic just rolling through that site, dealing with some of that utility, as well as dealing with FICO right now. He's been downed over in the site. Marmalade will clap back a good kill onto Inrio, but now Subarctic will finish off FICO with a Rotero drone, and Inrio pulling out that frag grenade, getting a kill of his own as well. A 4v3, once again favoring the defense, but a great shot from Exod will make me change my mind. We're now back even. Not only that, Vivid is just going to go for the plant. Giddy on the perfect coverage, hoping to stop anyone from swinging out, and he will. Exod is not going to use that C4 on time, and when he does, it is going to miss badly. Great shot from Vivid. Giddy with a follow-up, and it's all up to Marmalade.
Armed with nothing but the Roni, she'll turn her back, and Giddy capitalizes. IF, these teams back and forth since the half switch, but that attack was...
I've got to emphasize the importance of this, and it's something we see on a lot of other maps, Clubhouse and that basement site in particular, when, trying to get that plant down in Arsenal is what comes to mind. But when you hear that plant going down, and you don't see a C4 or several C4s, maybe a couple of Shumika launchers and a couple of toxic smokes flying over around the next corner, something has gone wrong with the defense. And whether that is simply a lack of intel or a lack of communication, maybe you just can't quite hear the audio cue of the plant going down, something has to go awry for that C4 to remain in pocket and not deny the plant whatsoever. And maybe you want to save it for a sort of a retake attempt. Sometimes that can work out, and we saw that from Exod trying to eventually make use of his explosive utility, but the toss just wasn't there either. Couple of just small issues here and there, but small issues in Siege, they stack up and compound to form a larger problem more often than not, and in this case, that larger problem was Nocturnes allowing the plant to go down, allowing IF to, like you said, Harrison, establish that comfortable position, that they like to be in. And with that, they just got that plant down, held those angles perfectly, and took the round win without much of an issue.
Halaki just used a C4 to establish Vert. And he's...
Sykes
Oh
has
my
2
God.
impacts, by the way.
He's tricking with the Thunderbird, too. So, with Thunderbird, the charge up when you place a new one is faster than the recharge. So, Lackey, he put one down, healed himself, picked it up, put it back down again. I just thought that was kind of funny. Because he damaged himself with the C4. So, Nocturnes, they're looking to hold top floor and persevere up there a little bit longer. I definitely agree with the decision. The more you pressure IF, the longer it... Again, we're going to keep hammering this point home because it's the biggest factor about IF's attacks. The longer they take to get comfortable, the better it is for you. So the more people Nocturnes put up there, the more utility they put up there, without, of course, leaving the site completely exposed, the better they're going to fare. Sykes is all the way on blue, though. And already, the attackers are starting to move through, but they're avoiding him for now. You've also got Lackey over towards Ivy shooting drones for his teammate. Giddy, who I thought may have been the person to take that initial engagement, will fall back out the windows. Arrow actually might be the one to do it, but here comes Sykes. He'll shoot the drone, attempt to get aggressive. Arrow deals a lot of damage to him, but Sykes still nabs the kill, and he'll escape all the way to the basement. Arrow once again suffering a death. He's 1-9, not having the near Herculean performance we saw from him in the group stages, and he'll have to sit this one out.
Couple of things going wrong there from Nocturnes. I mean, first it was just the lack of intel that Sykes was on the blue stairs, so there was a little bit of that element of surprise that Nocturnes used to their advantage. But more than that, Arrow, well, whether he didn't call for support or didn't get the support from a teammate in that engagement is also a little bit troubling. Where was the support from Giddy, who was several steps away over outside that library window? Maybe he simply was busy droning or was just too late to that engagement. Either way, a troubling entry death for this IF attack, but they will quickly, or at least eventually, remedy that death with a trade onto Lackey in response. Lackey having a much better performance than Arrow, but he will not be able to make an impact in this round, at least with his gun, any further. Marmalade will. A great kill onto Vivid, but Giddy, again, quickly claps back and removes Marmalade from play. Still an even 3v3 with 15 seconds to go. The diffuser not in hand. Something's got to happen for IF here, and they are struggling to get a foothold. Instead, they're just going to hunt for these frags, and it's going to work.
Wow.
FICO gets one, but Subarctic quickly trades that one back, and ignoring the diffuser, leaving it upstairs for like the last 20 seconds, mind you. IF decide to hunt for the frags, and, well, it worked perfectly. I won't lie.
That was a round that Nocturnes should have won. They were holding on to upstairs for so freaking long. 2 for 2 on the trades. IF had no time to play Vert, to set up, to do anything. Nocturnes... Now, I know... Okay, I'm going to sound like a bit of a hypocrite. I know I was saying that Nocturnes need to keep up the pressure and keep IF from being uncomfortable, but they did it too much. Again, they overcommitted to the gunfights, and they fell back. At least the player on Trophy Stairs and the Echo of Exod fell back far too late. Because with the wall closed, with the lobby wall closed, and then IF players clearing from upstairs, with 15 seconds left, where are they going to be coming from? Their only option is to try for West Main and Trophy Stairs. So why is Exod sitting in the kitchen hallway on his yokai? Why are Nocturnes still attempting to peek West Main, still taking aggressive gunfights with Trophy, instead of just waiting for IF to rush in with their pants down, with their guns down, not expect those gunfights because they're in such a hurry? Instead, Nocturnes gave IF the gunfights they were looking for. Exod's terrible positioning aside, Nocturnes should not have lost that round. I mean, hell, I guess Exod's terrible positioning now coming back into play. They had a freaking Echo, who still had drones. That was massive misplay from Nocturnes.
Yeah. Looking to remedy that, of course, in this round. They're going to have to. It's match point. 2 match points in a row, in fact, even if they're able to win this round. And again, this is Nocturne's map pick, a map that they need, and I mean need to win, because going to our next map of Clubhouse, a map that Nocturnes took 0 rounds yesterday, and IF took down PB on, yeah, that is not a great sign for Nocturnes, to say the least. So now, here is where they have to put all their cards on this one, and just like that, it is going to come out to a troubling start as Sykes tries to get aggressive and is quickly denied. It is going to be IF winning this opening duel. Not over yet, because IF, of course, they won opening duels previously and still couldn't close out the round, or vice versa, with Nocturnes taking those opening duels and still not being able to close it out either. But with that opening pick, especially that being on this top floor on a bar and games defense, it does mean that IF should be able to take this library control in just a few seconds, and they will do exactly that. Giddy will make his push, but Marmalade, shutting down Arrow, trying to push from elsewhere. Still an even 4v4, Nocturnes staying alive.
Yeah, I know you said Nocturnes had to show their whole hand, but that play from Sykes, man, looked like he showed his cards mid-river there. That was a Texas Hold'em reference.
Nice, good.
But they did get the trade onto Arrow. But Arrow is 1 in 10, Sykes is 8 and 9. So in terms of gunpowder, in terms of fire, I don't know, I just said gunpowder. I tried to say gunplay and firepower at the same time. In terms of firepower, that trade might go into the favor of IF just a bit, especially if Arrow has already used his burn and clear. Giddy and Inrio, though, I don't know if they know the top floor is completely clear. I think they just naded over towards Piano, but I guess they figured it out now. Giddy's going to go start playing the vert. He's got time now, and he's about to send a nade down into bar stock. It'll catch Marmalade, but not deal enough damage for a kill, though she is very lit up. She has 2 gas canisters remaining in her pocket. She's going to try and continue to delay the window as the Hibana charges meant to clear the Mira will be shot down. Giddy's going to try for a play over towards the bar doorway as Exod finds Inrio. Man advantage now in the favor of the defense, but Giddy just rushes through the smoke. Marmalade's not ready. Barstock now in the favor of the attack, and the defenders have to retake into their own site. Here comes the Mira. He'll dive. Sub dies as well, but Giddy's on a triple, and Lackey needs the 1v2 in order to save the map for Nocturnes. Plant is going down. Giddy right on top of his teammate to cover. Lackey will take some damage. He doesn't know Giddy's moved out of bar stock, and Vivid will finish him off through the wall. IF with round number 11, and they take Nocturne's map pick 7-4.
A strong victory there from IF, especially in those closing few rounds. It was close. We were tied at 4, and these teams were going back and forth and back and forth. But at the end of the day, it is IF to close things out on their opponent's map pick, taking Chalet, a 7-4 victory, and yes, the statement that they needed to make if they want to take this best of 3.